That's not worth talking about.
All wings, guard coming out. All wings, guard coming out.
From the non-stop action of ER to the surrealism of Twin Peaks, the world of prestige TV is full of incredible pilots. But first, let's wind the clock back to 2005. Prison Break gave us a pitch-perfect pilot, especially when you consider how unusual it was for TV shows to have extended story arcs back in those days.
Would have rolled if he hadn't been caught. Lives would have been lost. How about you hand that back to me?
The TV focused on the character of Michael Scofield, who gets himself imprisoned for one specific reason. He wants to get his falsely imprisoned brother off death row, the reveal of Michael's full-body tattoo being an especially notable scene. It turns out the crazy guy had the blueprint for the entire prison tattooed across his upper body, along with other details regarding his plan that get revealed gradually over the course of the season. It's kinda sad that Prison Break never lived up to its potential, cause while the first season paid off brilliantly, the next few seasons just kept getting worse.
They denied the motion.
Then do it again.
I can't. That's it. Execute me.
I know.
That just goes to show that a good beginning doesn't always predict the quality of the rest of the series. But sometimes, the pilot episode turns out to be the start of something historic.
You've gotta help me.
The pilot of ER took the pressure to the max, and they certainly didn't waste any time getting the ball rolling. The very first scene shows us Dr. Mark Green taking a nap in the on-call room, only to get suddenly awakened by a patient who's in critical condition. And what ensued was a truly riveting experience. It was the type of pulse-pounding television that no one had ever seen before. That first patient ended up being just the first of many to come, all of whom seemed like they were on the brink of death. And ER didn't sugarcoat things either. The pilot showed us the ground reality of working in a hospital emergency room, including the fact that sometimes people die.
I can be a competent surgeon. I can learn the techniques, mechanics. But I'll never be a great surgeon.
But one thing that stands out to me about this pilot is the way it was paced, cause they balanced the tense scenes with plenty of moments of levity, humanizing the doctors and nurses at the heart of the show along the way. ER defied all odds by giving us a pilot that dropped us into the middle of the action with zero context, which inspired countless other pilots to take a similar approach.
I've often wondered over the years if I made the right decision in becoming a surgeon.
Like this next one that began the single greatest sci-fi saga ever to come to the small screen. Battlestar Galactica started with a bang, although it's unfortunate that the bang in question seemed to annihilate almost all human life, which happens pretty early on in the episode. I should probably mention, Battlestar Galactica technically started with the 3-hour miniseries, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the pilot of the actual show, the episode titled 33, which refers to the number of minutes that the crew of the Battlestar have before the Cylons find them again. And boy, do those Cylons know how to hunt. They chase down the last survivors of humanity relentlessly, and every time we think that our protagonists have managed to escape, the Cylons make their ominous return, appearing out of nowhere, like some omnipotent cosmic force. And even when all of the craziness finally subsides, it really seems like the characters are not going to have it easy anytime soon. Admittedly, the latter seasons were a bit of a letdown, but that doesn't change the fact that this show started its run with a historic action-packed hour of television. That said, it takes more than just non-stop action to make a pilot great. Which brings me to the next entry on this list. Twin Peaks was a masterpiece from day one. That might seem obvious to pretty much everyone these days, because David Lynch has had an incredible career, but he was still a new and young director when the show came out. And Twin Peaks was the first of Lynch's works to get global acclaim. The way the pilot sets things up was a big part of that. There's a sense of surrealism that permeates the show. I'll admit, I was was a bit skeptical about this show for the first few minutes, until Kyle MacLachlan showed his face. I don't think I could have predicted what I was about to see next. MacLachlan plays the role of Dale Cooper with a lot of humor, not to mention a lot of heart, and all the little quirks he became known for seemed perfectly natural, which is probably why this was the best role of MacLachlan's career. But there's more to Twin Peaks than Dale Cooper. We have a whole cast of oddballs who have their own otherworldly subplots happening, and they all seem to be living in some kind of dream reality. Twin Peaks was a pivotal show in the history of the medium. It showed us that TV could be more than just a way to pass the time, eventually leading to the era of prestige television. And that's when we got to see a pilot that stood out as a work of art. The Sopranos pilot started the golden era of television. It's honestly kinda hard to imagine what TV would have been like without the show, and it's to HBO's credit that they allowed such an artistic series to be made in the first place. The Sopranos expertly deconstructed the mafioso tropes that had become so pervasive since The Godfather, cause Tony Soprano isn't some kind of larger-than-life figure.
Oh, a long-lost leader. Somebody must owe him money.
Tony, how you doing?
The episode literally starts with him at a therapy session, where he talks quite openly about the fact that he gets panic attacks. And it's pretty open about the fact that he has panic attacks, which is not to say that the show glorifies him. Far from it. Tony's shown to be a complex character from the beginning, and the show never glosses over the violent things he does. But at the same time, the pilot is surprisingly hilarious, which I feel a lot of people forget about when they discuss The Sopranos. The show balanced the violence and grittiness of Tony's world with an absurdist sense of comedy, and that made the more serious character exploration way more compelling.
Oh, Agent Harry.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good to see you. As in the neighborhood, I want to introduce you to my new partner, Joe Marquez, Tony Soprano.
How you doing?
That said, there's another show from the same era that had an even better pilot. And it's a show that I haven't stopped thinking about for over a decade. Lost's pilot episode had no business being that good, which speaks to the wider theme behind great pilots. They tend to break all the rules, or make up new ones as they go. There's nothing wrong with the standard pilot, but the creators of Lost clearly had bigger ideas, which led to them making a pilot that will go down in history as the pinnacle of the art form. Now, I'm perfectly aware that Lost was far from perfect. The ending of the show especially left a bitter taste in my mouth. But if you just focus on the pilot, with the way it drops us into the chaotic plane crash scene, and then slowly reveals that the real danger might be the island itself, it's hard to see anything that could have been done better. I think the moment that sold me on Lost, the moment I realized that I was watching the kind of TV show that would change the future of the medium, was when that smoke monster appeared. It represented everything that was great about Lost, hinting at a vast and unknowable reality, and giving the survivors their first glimpse of the endless mysteries that were to come. What's more, the pilot closes things off with what I consider to be the most epic line ever spoken on TV, when Charlie looks around at his fellow castaways and says, "Guys, where are we?" And the funny thing is, I still don't think we've gotten an answer for that. These were the TV shows with the best pilot episodes ever. See you in the next one.